Look up. These are the same stars Abraham saw. A sky vast and silent, holding a promise that echoed louder than any doubt. Imagine it. No map, no compass, no clear path forward. Just a voice, a divine whisper saying, "Go." And Abraham went. He packed up his life, left everything he knew, not because he saw the destination, but because he trusted the one who gave the direction. That, right there, is the heart of faith. It's the courageous step you take when the full picture is still hidden. It's obedience that doesn't demand all the answers first. It's a journey that begins where certainty ends. Think about the feeling of sand slipping through your fingers. Countless, immeasurable. That what Abraham was promised. Descendants as numerous as the grains of sand on the shore. Yet in his lifetime, he never saw that sprawling nation. He saw a promise, held on to it, and lived his life as if it were already true. He believed the promise because he believed the promiser. Faith isn't about seeing the outcome. It's about holding on to the source of the promise, even when your own eyes can't verify it. It's the quiet confidence that what God has spoken will come to pass, regardless of the current circumstances. Now let's travel forward in time to meet another hero of faith, Noah. Picture a man, day after day, year after year, sawing wood, hammering nails, building a colossal ark on dry land. The sun would beat down, the neighbors would mock, and the logic of it all made no sense. He was building for a rain the world had never seen, for a flood that sounded like a madman's fantasy. Imagine the whispers, the laughter, the isolation. He was ridiculed, misunderstood, and likely felt profoundly alone. But here's a powerful truth Noah teaches us. True faith doesn't require an audience. It doesn't need applause or validation from the crowd. All it needs is endurance. It's the commitment to keep building, keep obeying, even when you're the only one who hears the command. And then, after decades of patient labor, it happened. A single drop of rain, then another and another. The sky, once clear and mocking, turned gray and heavy. A gentle patter became a downpour, and the downpour became a deluge. In that moment, every insult, every jeer, every questioning look became utterly irrelevant. The laughter of the scoffers was drowned out by the roar of the floodwaters. This is the nature of faith. It doesn't need to argue or defend itself in the court of public opinion. It doesn't need to win a debate. It just needs time to let God's plan unfold. The flood was the validation, but Noah's faith was proven long before the first drop fell. Let's shift our gaze to a barren, sun-scorched desert. Here we find Sarah, a woman whose hope had long since dried up with the landscape around her. She was past the age of childbearing, her body tired, her heart resigned to a life without the son she was promised. By every human standard, it was too late. But heaven doesn't operate on our timelines. God's promises don't come with expiration dates. When she overheard the angels say she would have a son, she laughed. Not a laugh of joy, but a laugh of disbelief, of bitter irony. How could the impossible possibly happen to her? Yet God, in his infinite grace and power, took that sound of doubt and transformed it. He turned her weary laughter into the beautiful, undeniable cry of a newborn baby. That is the essence of faith in action. It is seeing God step onto the stage of our lives right when the script says the end. It's watching him take our greatest impossibilities and turn them into his greatest miracles. The empty womb, the closed door, the final diagnosis. These are not dead ends to God. They are simply the settings where his glory is most powerfully displayed. Faith is the belief that even when everything in you and around you screams impossible, God's possible is the only word that matters. From her laughter of doubt came Isaac, whose name means he laughs, a permanent reminder that God always gets the last laugh over impossibility. Now, let's walk with Moses, a man of two worlds. He was raised in the splendor of an Egyptian palace, yet he was born a Hebrew slave. He had a calling on his life, but in a moment of anger he ran from it, trading a prince's robe for a shepherd's cloak in the wilderness. For 40 years he was hidden, forgotten, tending sheep in obscurity. But God hadn't forgotten him. He met Moses in the middle of nowhere, in a bush that burned but was not consumed. It was in that fire that Moses' true purpose was forged. He was called to trade the comfort of a palace for a divine purpose, to exchange a temporary crown for the heavy, cross-shaped burden of leading his people to freedom. Imagine Moses standing at the edge of the Red Sea. Behind him, the dust cloud of Pharaoh's chariots, the most powerful army on earth, thundering closer. In front of him, an impassable wall of water. There was nowhere to run. Fear, panic, and despair were the logical responses. But faith operates on a different logic. Faith didn't panic. Faith didn't surrender. Faith, embodied in a humble shepherd's staff, was raised toward the heavens. And in an act that has defied explanation for millennia, the impossible happened. The sea, a symbol of chaos and unbeatable power, obeyed a higher power. It split in two, creating a pathway where none existed. The book of Hebrews chapter 11 calls these people, Abraham, Noah, Sarah, Moses, heroes of the faith. But let's be clear about why they were heroes. It wasn't because they were flawless, fearless, or naturally strong. They had doubts. They made mistakes. They were human, just like us. They were heroes for one simple reason. They believed God. Their heroism was forged in their trust. They took God at His word when it made no sense, when it cost them everything, and when the promise seemed impossibly far away. Their strength wasn't their own. It was a borrowed strength, drawn from the well of their unwavering belief in a God who is always faithful. Think of faith as a bridge that connects the world we can see, touch, and measure with the unseen realm of God's promises and power. It spans the chasm between our reality and His reality. And here's the thing about this bridge. Sometimes you don't even know it's there, strong and secure beneath you, until you're halfway across. You don't feel its stability until you take that first, terrifying step out over the abyss. It's in the stepping, not the standing still, that you discover its strength. It's in the journey that you realize you were never walking alone. By faith, these ordinary people lived extraordinary lives. By faith, they conquered kingdoms, overcame obstacles, and received what was promised. By faith, they didn't just live through history, they changed its very course. Faith doesn't always make logical sense to the world, but it has always made history. It's the force that moves mountains, parts seas, and brings life from death. And the very same God who spoke to Abraham under the stars, who guided Noah's hand, who gave Sarah a child, and who parted the waters for Moses, is the same God who is with you, who sees you, and who is still leading you today. Your story is part of this great legacy of faith. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content that explores the power of faith. We'd love to have you as part of our community. God bless.